I'm Rajeev Behera, the founding CEO of Reflektive. Reflektive is trying to solve people management by making managers better at what they do, and this conference is to start discussing how to do that. I started Reflektive 5 years ago out of my own necessity. I used to work at Disney making mobile games, and I had a bunch of middle managers managing most of my people. They weren't great at managing them. They were good at task managing, but they couldn't people manage, and they didn't develop their employees. They didn't talk to their employees about what they want to do in their career. So I realized there's a big white space in terms of figuring out how to solve the employee and manager relationship. So I left to do that. I came from the consumer world building mobile games where when you're building consumer apps, you don't actually talk to your end user, you just kind of build for them. So this is very different because I was selling to HR and I actually did not have much exposure to people in HR, but Robby did. Robby had been selling to HR already where he was. He had this huge network of HR people who followed him around, and he put up events for them, and he just kind of helped me understand the ecosystem and how people in HR think, and really helped educate me on what my buyer was like and how different it was versus the mobile gamer playing a Marvel Avengers game kind of thing. So he really kind of like helped me figure out how do I solve for what HR people are solving for, which is essential when you're building a product. At the beginning, it was kind of, I think it was Robby and maybe a supporter of Robby's potentially, and now he has built out this full suite of people associated with it where they're putting their names down on paper saying, hey, we want to be affiliated with PeopleTech. And you have really great HR leaders on that. You have startups on that. He's built this really innovative marketplace that matches HR leaders and startups, which never occurred before, which I think is pretty interesting. And because of that, he sees more HR startups than, PeopleTech sees more HR startups than most VCs see. So even my VCs now go to Robby and PeopleTech to find companies. So you know you're doing something well when VCs go to you for lead flow.
My name is Robby Peters, co-founder of PeopleTech Partners. I think it's been kind of fun to, you put that slide up today when you were talking about your journey and you were talking about all the different milestones that you've kind of gone along, right? I think for us, it's been really fun to be, kind of close. I would say, while hopefully we've been very helpful to Reflektive as they've grown, I mean, it's been really great to work closely with them in every stage because it's allowed us to continue to scale out and really be kind of, what we are today. For what I saw originally was like, hey, they had kind of this original product that was around kind of goals and feedback being built into your workflow. They're now obviously expanding that into, they did one-on-one manager training, they did all these different parts of the product. And I think, along the way they were getting introductions and conversations from HR leaders, really diving deep. I mean, I told a story today about how, when we first started working, Rajeev, the reason that I really got attracted to working with them was like, he wasn't concerned with going out and getting 1,000 customers right away. It was really about getting those right 20 or 30 to build the product so it doesn't have holes, so it's ready to scale. So like I learned a lot of that, throughout that process on how important that is. And then, I think the cool thing that's been happening is once they were ready to really go live and go scale, then we started working on different projects. Instead of feedback, it was much more around exposure, right? Like how do we get you out speaking in front of the right people? How do you get associated with the right people? Doing your case studies out in public. So I remember one of our events, you walked through a whole case study of Pinterest in New York, right? When we were talking about, and you walked and showed everything that they were doing and how they were using the system. Obviously Mark today, what he did at Airbnb, and talked about how all of his work with Reflektive. So I think it was a lot around those case studies. We've really nailed some of these things. And then lately it's been a lot around, kind of Rajeev trying to smartly think about what other parts of my system, can I really put in place around that employee experience. So obviously now, going to around, more of like the surveys, understanding your population, and then also the data side. So the reason I smile when I say the data side is we actually worked with a company originally in PeopleTech that was called Shape, and they were a company that came through the PeopleTech cycle, and they were kind of at a level where they were looking at what they were going to do next. They had built this amazing data infrastructure, but they didn't quite know how to fit into the HR suite, and when they got this opportunity to be in front of Rajeev and Reflektive, they saw this huge synergy, which now has allowed him to continue to expand his product. So it's really cool because we were touching it again with an early stage company that was 4 years after Reflektive from starting, and now they're actually partnered together and part of the Reflektive team. So it's just been kind of fun to watch that whole iteration, and now I feel like you guys have really built a very robust employee engagement software, and kind of the scale that you guys have is pretty amazing.
I consider PeopleTech partners for us, right? They helped us throw this conference, which we would not have been able to put together such a great first conference with so many people coming to it. So I think we basically partner on key initiatives. And it works because Robby is really good at executing on things, and I know how to work with him, and we know how to work with each other. So there's like a fabric there. So when I was thinking about a conference, the first thing I thought about is, oh, Robby can probably really help me with kind of setting this up because he's really great at this stuff. So there's a lot of value there. So, and acquisitions, Robby knows PeopleTech sees so many of these companies. I would start an acquisition strategy. Let me partner with PeopleTech on that. I think we're at a different stage in a lot of PeopleTech companies, but there's something really valuable for our stage company.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it really is starting from the beginning about just making sure, especially when you take venture money, right? Like there's a lot of push towards you've got to execute all these goals, you've got to do these things. So be careful what you go out and ask for, right? I think it's really about building a sustainable business first, which with Rajeev, they did well. I mean, they didn't go out and try to raise massive rounds right away. They're very smart about getting the product done together. The community we've built can be a blessing, but it can also be a curse. If you do something and you build it the wrong way and there's a lot of holes and you try to put it out too fast, like the community will tell people that really quickly, right? So I think it's really understanding that HR advisor, leader, they're the ones in the product every day, and you got to make sure that you've built it, tight, at least to a place that you feel comfortable with them, utilizing this within their company. You can't put it out and be like, oh, well, we're 80% of the way there, because those 20% of the holes will come up really quickly, and you're going to lose that trust, right? So I think that, again, I just always tell this story that, there were other companies that came out, at a similar time to Rajeev and raised a ton of money right away and went after that sales and marketing. And I think, a lot of them didn't have the product that was going to be sticky and hang. And even in some cases, they missed so many areas of that product. And while it may only be 20%, it was that 20% that lost them those customers, and then it ultimately changed the direction of where the company was going. So I think it is really, what a better place than, working with PeopleTech to be able to get your feedback from your end user. And trust me, if they like you, that's why they're here today, right? Speaking at this conference. I mean, this is an amazing opportunity for them to, not only, kind of tell the story of how they've grown and where they go, but also give back to the people that have done a lot for their community in building out Reflektive.
It's a very powerful network, and make sure you use it correctly. For example, what Robby just said, where you want to make sure that your product is at the right stage, very early stage, but you've thought about it, you've maybe tried it with a few people before you take it out to the full network, because there's a big power of everyone talking to each other, which will make your company grow really quickly too. It's almost like an essential path if you want to grow quickly. You have to find a distribution channel to be able to get in front of everybody else. So it's a really powerful way to do that.
I mean, I love the story of the office that we were telling up here. I mean, I think for me, it's been just fun to be along the ride. I mean, I'm not there every single day along the way, but I've gotten to see Rajeev at so many different offices as they've continued to scale up and grow. And even just walking around here, I mean, the cool thing, his co-founders are still here, are working closely with him. At one time, I think we were talking about today, it was Rajeev and his two other co-founders, and they were in this tiny place. I didn't even know how to get into it. I thought it was like an apartment complex. I didn't know what it was.
It was a dentist office.
Was it? Okay, that's okay. I don't think I even knew that at that point. They had a conference room that had no windows.
It was a closet.
Yeah, it was a closet.
It literally was a closet.
There it is. So that, obviously I think was a great story. Rajeev and I, we get out and we have a fun time too. I think we've developed a great friendship along the way. Our wives know each other. We go out to dinner. We've got some funny stories. I don't know how well they'll land here, but we often, we're both basketball fans. He likes the Lakers, I like the Warriors, but we'll end up going to a couple basketball games a year. And we, go out there, we have a good time, we really enjoy the game. And we've got a good story that we always just have personal jokes. One time we were walking out of the Warriors game, and neither of us knew where to go. We wanted to get an Uber to get home, and we asked this guy, we're like, hey man, where do we pick up the Ubers, right? And the guy's like, it's over there. And we're like, are you sure? He works there. He's got a security guard on and everything. And then he thinks about it for a second and he goes, you know what? I actually don't know. They don't really tell me anything around here. And so, for him and I, it's always just kind of like a personal joke. We've got other stories like that too. But, we've developed a great friendship, I think, along the way. And
totally.
That's been fun. I mean, being able to see Rajeev have, his first baby, and I'm now expecting a baby, so I'm picking his brain on everything, right? One other really good good one. This is a great one, and we can probably find this tape somewhere. Rajeev's wife is super smart as well. Actually started a biotech company and has been very successful, had a successful exit with it. She's also one of the kindest, most caring people in the world. There's a whole clip about a shark that came up on the beach in Half Moon Bay, and how his wife ran out to save and shepherd the shark back out to water. Rajeev was there, but he did look a little bit like close behind in there, whereas she was out there pushing, and so I gave him a lot of trouble on that. But just those are some of the fun memories that popped to mind for me.
We definitely enjoy each other's companies. We'll hang out and grab drinks all the time and just kind of figure things out. It's just good to have someone who you can trust with things that you can talk about versus 100% professional where you feel guarded, because then we have the better communication flow so we can kind of figure things out more quickly. But yeah, we have a great time together. We go to games together, our wives know each other. Yeah, it's been awesome.
Back to Rajeev, just I think the power of hopefully us continuing to work together. I mean, it's crazy. While PeopleTech, yes, is built for earlier stage companies, a lot of the things we trial and we try to do, we've worked closely with Rajeev. So, as he's continued to go up more and more into the enterprise, we've collaborated, we've built our network up there a lot. We've done, we did that event out in New York not that long ago that really helped. We got those 10 CHROs from large corporations get in the room, give you that feedback, right? So I think hopefully we just continue to push each other and grow, and at this point I think it's a true partnership. While hopefully we've added a lot of value, we're also able to get to meet a lot of people that we may not have been able to meet yet as you guys have continued to grow.
I think PeopleTech is just really great at marketing. Like if you think about what you're trying to build internally, you try to build a marketing team that can throw great events, have a great network, get a lot of people together very easily, and throw really good kind of events. And PeopleTech just does that better than anyone else that we've seen. So there's like a key competitive advantage that they have, and it's because they're very personable and they're very trustworthy, and people really enjoy their experiences with them.